kind of lead me right in the next thing. So I came up under kind of the mentorship and really the belief you don't need to do outside billing and you need to stay away from it. As a matter of fact, it's just, you're just giving away money, etc. And
Yeah.
so I know that that's one of the objections that comes up when you
Yeah.
look at kind of again, kind of a paradigm shift, and when people are trying to compare apples to apples. And I think we already alluded to some of the things that are, that cost over here, but for some reason they get kind of moved over here and everybody forgets about the fact that they're paying the IT guy a lot more money, that they're spending more money in hardware. And then they go, well, my software though only costs this, or I own my software.
Yeah.
But I pay a couple grand a year in updates that have to be scheduled or just to be able to get on the phone. So take me through, if you have any objections that you guys encounter, let's just hit them up front right now for our members and the people seeing this.
Yeah.
What are they, and what's your response?
Now, from the billing or the technology ownership?
Well, I'd say the billing aspect, if you want to touch on it, but really, if you looked at your top 2 or 3 objections, let's, hey, we're big on telling the truth and just being straight up, and that's what
I appreciate that about you.
Yeah, so let's just hit it.
Okay, yeah, so from billing, let's just clear that up because there's probably some residual little objections that probably should be handled. It used to be true, I would have agreed with that 10 years ago, not to outsource your billing if you knew something about it. Because as soon as you outsource, you lose control, you lose transparency, you don't know. And that's the problem I had. I was outsourcing my billing and I didn't know if I was collecting money, but I didn't know if it was everything I should have been collecting, or if they were following up on every single thing, or if they were even submitting every single claim, let alone follow up on them. So doing things in the cloud gives you that transparency and that control. So you don't have to ever worry about it. The other thing is it's flexible. So you could outsource it or bring it in-house with Genesis. You can do either one, but you still leverage all of that automation. And for billing performance, it's super easy to know whether or not your practice is doing great, right? We talked about that. So you asked me, should I outsource? I said, no, why would you outsource it when you guys are killing it right now? And it's really one number I had to look at. It's the industry standard for comparing billing performance from one billing company to another, or from one billing department to another. It's called accounts receivable over 120 days. So the national average for AR over 120 is 17.7 or 8%, about 18%, we'll call it. The reason that number is important is because once a claim or a dollar that you are owed goes over 120 days, the chances of collecting it go down to almost zero. This is excluding personal injury, just normal insurance. So that's a number that when you log into Genesis, you can see that the first thing you see when you log in. When you log in, you can see it's on the dashboard up top right. So it's the number furthest to the right, you see it. And if you are, now Genesis, across all Genesis clients, our average is 6%. So that means that a lot of doctors are well below 6%, and a lot of doctors are over 6% to keep that average there. But it's an average, so you take the difference, and that's how much money you're losing. So if you were at 17 and you compare it to Genesis, you're losing 12% of your money, right? So now if with Genesis you decided you wanted to keep it in-house, and all of a sudden you see your AR over 120 goes up to 8, 9, 10%, it's a simple math. We just say, here's what it would cost you to outsource it, and here's how much you're losing every month. We actually do this with clients, Mike. When we do demos and things like that, we have what's called a dream practice analysis, where we analyze their numbers and we say, what is your AR over 120? And we could tell them, like, look, this is, if you switch to Genesis, we're at 6% on average. You could do better, but this is how much money you'd be saving every month just by switching your billing and outsourcing it to us. Or if they have it under control, they can keep it in-house, but gain on the leveraging the automation that's there. So that covered the Genesis being flexible to be able to do either one. Maybe you have a great biller right now, Mike, but what if something happens to them and now you're stuck? You can always just outsource it and then bring it back in-house. Not every day, but like every few months, there's an option to do that. So I want to make sure that that's clear. Transparency, control, and understanding that one metric to determine what your performance is key.
No, no. I think that answers it perfectly. Again, when I get on the phone with docs and we're talking through that, a lot of times again, you have that paradigm. We talked about that right at the very beginning. And honestly, I struggled with it. And when I was working with your teams in the beginning, I was like, whoa, no. I was just so staunch on it. And now having been with you guys a while, I mean, and quite honestly, I'm sure we're not even using the software to its fullest capabilities.
Takes time, yeah.
But it's shown tremendous gains, tremendous optimization of our time. Again, the collections, I can't believe what my collections are, even past 60 days. The amounts are, I mean, I have more in my billfold than we have outstanding.
Yeah,
and I tell you,
you guys do a great job.
Is even before, I didn't even know. If you asked me, I couldn't even have
told. This is the key. That's control. You got to gain control to know whether or not it's worth it to outsource it or keep it in-house. How do you know until you have those numbers sitting in front of your face every moment? Now, what happens a lot of times, Mike, sorry to cut you up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doctors are, there's just insistent on being in-house. No problem. Put it in-house. All of a sudden, Genesis finds claims that they were never going to find before. Person didn't know it. They were missing them. They weren't posting. All of a sudden, Genesis is finding all these claims. Their amount of claims that they have to follow up on, just keeps building in the backlog. Their AR over 120 goes, and they're not. But it's always a simple conversation, because as soon as we say your AR over 120 is 20%, and you're losing 14%, as soon as you outsource, you're going to gain that money if you just outsource it. And then when we do it, it works. It's simple. It's just a simple business decision for you at that moment. But like you said, until you have to gain control over what the numbers are until you can make a good decision.
Well, I'm going to speak to some of the docs out there, right? They have great practices. They see a great volume of people, and they collect well. So I've fallen victim to that, because the collection number is good. You kind of just start to discount the fact that you have no idea what's really truly collectible out there. And it just migrates. I would laugh when the bank would actually, in years past, when I needed to prove up something, like when I was building my building and things of that nature. What's your accounts receivable? And you want to go, I'm going to print out this report. These numbers aren't true. I don't even know how much of this is really collectible. So it's great to actually know those numbers.
Real time. So, yeah. 1 second. You need to know those vital statistics. This is a business principle. If you're going to manage something, you need the information. You have to be able to get to it within 5 seconds, not some report that your biller has to run that you don't even know if they know what they're doing.
Right. We all know how good our chiropractors are at, taking a stack of reports, and we want to spend time on diving through those reports to find out.
To get a stack like this every month, that would sit the pile of that. I remember the FedEx envelopes literally piled up from my old billing company. Like, I'm never looking at that. I know that. I just staring at me. It's like stressful, just them sitting there. It's like,
anyway, I totally get it. I'm looking down our bullet points over here that I wanted to cover. Again, kind of the top questions that I get. I believe
you had mentioned cost, right, of ownership.
Oh yeah. I kind of alluded to that, because it becomes a little bit of a shell game. People say, "Oh no, I own my software." Well, and I owned the software I had when I made the switch to Genesis. I didn't have a monthly fee or anything. So I owned it.
Yeah.
But then you start adding up again the update fees and the IT people I had to hire to do the update successfully, as well as all the strife and everything involved. It was a very different scenario. So
yes,
go ahead and speak to that.
Yeah, it's huge. If you, first of all, software, anything you do in your business, a lot of chiropractors, I've been there, are making decisions on software as if they're an expense to their business. Anything you do in business should not be, it should be an investment. There should be a return on your investment. So you have to look at it that way. What are you getting from this? So there's a lot to discuss there. I mean, there's traditionally the question you get is, well, I can own it. Well, you don't really own the software. You own a license to use it. And you don't own ChiroTouch or Platinum or whatever. And the problem is, since they're not in the cloud, those technologies become antiquated, as you know. The capabilities of those technologies they're built in software language. Think of it like hieroglyphics. right? It's so old, nobody can understand it anymore. Nobody can work with it anymore. You can't build new things with it. Software languages evolve. The beauty of Genesis is that it's in the cloud. We actually have what Genesis is, the language is used in Genesis today is different than it was last year, let alone 10 years ago, right? Because things change so much. And as languages change and new capabilities come out, we're able to leverage that because we're in the cloud. It's kind of like building an airplane while you're flying. You can change parts as you're flying in the cloud. Not to mention the system itself, as you know, when you get into it, it looks different. I mean, it doesn't look, it's not as pretty as other systems because they're built to be pretty to sell it, right? I mean, that's the trick. It's like, well, I get you to buy it. Well, this thing works, right? And this is a massive technology. It's nowhere near on the level. It's orders of magnitude in the amount of code that's involved in Genesis as compared to your traditional practice management system. More of a business management tool. It's an enterprise level software. So for you to buy a license, if we sold licenses, it would be $30,000, $40,000 just to buy a license for this. So software as a service is the future. Software as a service is what everybody does. It's what Microsoft does now. Finally, we were ahead of Microsoft, right? We were ahead of Apple. We were ahead of all these people because being able to continuously improve the technology is very expensive. And rebuild the whole thing all the time on the fly, it's very expensive. So that's why it's a service. It's not software as an expense. It's a service to you that when you pay for something, you're always getting the latest technology. You're always getting the best level of service. That's the pricing model. Now, there were old softwares that were out in the day that were not cloud-based, but still got away with charging monthly fees. It kind of ruined it for a lot of people. That was a great idea by them. Good for them, but it wasn't software as a service. It was just software monthly fee forever for a client server system. Software as a service is the future. That's where it's going to be with everything, no matter what, for the benefits that I just mentioned, not to mention all the liabilities. Now, when you're investing in Genesis, one of the things we do, like I mentioned, when we get on the phone, we ask our doctors or prospective clients a lot of questions about their practice. Because when we ask you questions about how much you pay your staff hourly, how much time does it take them to post charges, how much time does it take them to post EOBs, how long does it take you to do a note, how many management hours do you spend? All these questions, what's your AR over 120, of course, right? When we ask all these questions and we do the math, the thing plugs out, it does the math for you, and you compare the support fees, the data backup that you have to pay for, whether or not you're doing it, it's a cost that you're not actually doing. The hardware that the amount of money you should be putting aside for updating your hardware every few years. When you start to calculate that and the AR issues that most doctors have, the difference is night and day. You're getting, in some cases, thousands of dollars by implementing Genesis, in some cases, thousands of dollars every single month back for implementing Genesis. So the difference, even with the difference, right? So you have this software over here and you have Genesis over here. The difference could be $2,000–$3,000 a month in difference, not to mention the free time you gain and the scalability and all these things. Just time and money. We just plug those things in for you. So software as a service is the future, and you should be able to calculate what your return on investment is going to be when you implement this. Other software, what you typically do on a demo is you get on and they kind of feature dump on you. And this is what we do, and this is what we do, and everything's great. And you're just trying to check off the features that you want. And everybody has the features, scheduling, documentation, billing, right? Everybody can say that, but they're not a enterprise level business management tool like we are, and can prove a return on investment. And on top of it, it's 100% transparent to you whether or not you're getting it when you get into the system. So we have to prove ourselves every month, Mike. The thing is, bottom line, we've been in business 12 years, growing well, as you know. And if we weren't delivering on the technology or the billing or both or one or the other, if you're paying a monthly, the beauty of it is you're out. You cancel it. Why would you pay $12,000, $15,000 to implement the client server system, including the hardware and all that, and take the risk that you made the wrong decision? You could make that could be the wrong decision. Then you're stuck with it. I mean, even if, but I say stuck with it, but a lot of clients have done that with other systems, and then they still see that, well, I'm still losing $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. Yeah. So as long as you, every day you stay with that bad investment you made over here, you're still costing you $3,000 a month. Bad money. Don't throw good money after bad money. It's a rule, right?
Totally makes sense. You know, and when I made the transition over, you know, I had not had the current software that I was using very long. So I made some big financial outlay. And while I did something I wouldn't recommend to people, I made a couple of software changes in a matter of 3 years, you know, essentially. And that can be painful. And that's another thing I'll just speak to is the way that you guys implement the system, which I know has even changed from when I did it. And the way that support and the follow-up and some of the scheduled training calls and different aspects you have, some of your videos and things. And I don't want to speak too much about it because I probably don't even know the most current.
It's changed actually.
Yeah, utilizing the task, the kind of the workbench aspect. You mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted our listeners to know of, and the docs to know that instead of at least the first method of choice, if there's an issue or you have a question, is not picking up the phone and getting in a queue and sitting on hold. It's actually direct communication through a task manager aspect. Do you want to speak to that for a moment?
Sure. Yeah. So generally support is the biggest thing for our business. Like I said, since we're a monthly subscription and monthly fee type of thing, as soon as you're not happy, you're going to be looking somewhere else. As a matter of fact, when you have a new staff member, a new login created in your office, we get an alert on our side. We immediately reach out to that person and get them into the training system. Because we know one of the biggest risks to, or like losing a patient for you, one of the biggest risks for us losing a client is when a new staff member comes in and doesn't get trained properly. A lot of times that could be a new office manager that has some old system in their mind that they're used to using, and they want to rip out Genesis and put in some old system that they are comfortable with rather than what's best for the business. So it's training and support and the integration process and transition. Those are all really, really top priority to give our clients a great experience. So we're always looking for better ways to do that. One thing we've done from day one is being able to open a task in the system about a patient specifically. If it's a billing issue, you can actually attach the task to the patient to the task and send it to us. This way you don't have to pick up the phone and wait on hold and all this stuff. You can type in what your issue is, say what patient it's related to, if any, and that goes to our support team, and then they can answer you. Now, there's always the situations where it's a question that you just can't get answered back and forth through a chat, right? Which is in essence what this is. And so what we've done recently actually is our support team now, if you go back and forth a couple times, they actually give you a link. And in that link, you click and it opens up the availability of all of our entire support team to schedule a call and do a video share. So when you click, you pick the date, you pick the time that works for you. You schedule that call and it'll be on your calendar. And when that day time comes, there's a GoToMeeting link. You open up, you're sharing screens, it's live with the person. And also you get that added to your calendar. You get emails about the event, you get email reminders, and you get text reminders if you opt in to get the text reminder as well. So you don't have to miss, and you can get time when you have time or your staff has time. And you coordinate that with your other people in your office. If you have other people that you need to get on that call with, you can just say, okay, they have this time, this time, this time, this time. And that's been a big game changer for us too. But yeah, so support is an onboarding and helping you get your data out of your old system kind of thing. And those are all really, I mean, the most important thing to the experience. And that's why we're always able to scale, because we have to keep our clients just like you have to keep patients. We have to prove our worth every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And thanks for diving into that answer, because again, those questions come up over and over, and we've experienced that. Of course, I love the go-to. We actually utilize that to our members. So they're kind of familiar with how that looks. But I tell you, being on some support calls and seeing, being able to look at the same screen and have the conversation, and even have your team do some of the work to literally show us at times if need be, and those things are invaluable. We always talk about speed again, and speed and efficiency. we can turn that hour-long situation into a 5 or 10-minute deal.
Yeah.
And again, that clears the mind. To go back what we kind of touched on at the very beginning, which firsthand as a chiropractor, is really be back in mindful of the patient, mindful of our purpose, and really doing what most chiropractors really long to do, right? They don't.
Yeah. Like the way I think about it a lot of times is, when you have too much stuff open on your computer and your memory is being used up, so it slows everything down on your computer, and you can't get on the internet, or you can't do a video share or something like that because you're using too much RAM. Well, even to the extent where you've called your software company and then you left a message, and now it's in the back of your mind. Did they call me back? Whatever happened with that? When are they going to call me back? And just being able to click on a button, schedule something, and know you have something scheduled, and it's going to remind you with emails and text. Things that we spoke about throughout this interview today, taking all of those things out of the back of your mind, so you just have clarity about what you have to do every single day. Just get in front of patients, get in front of patients, do what you do it great, and all else comes when you have technology backing you up that way.
Yeah, well, that mindset right there kind of defines some of us in the way that we operate at Next Level Leadership. And so I want to thank you. It's not everybody that gets the opportunity to have the co-founder and the guy take the time to go through this. I'm looking up here at the clock going, yeah, we spent some time on this today to break this out. And so I appreciate you scheduling it with me, making it happen. I know it's going to be real valuable to our folks, as well as hope it's great for you guys as well, that you get some opportunity to take care of them. So otherwise, have any parting words here, Brian? And I'm going to let you go.
No, man, my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Again, all those things we went over, it's just something you can't read on the internet or get in a demo. It's hard to get all that in. There's just too much. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of clear things up. Hopefully there's some interest for you. If anybody's interested in seeing more about Genesis, go to genesischiropracticsoftware.com, and there's a demo button, get a demo. You can actually, if we're doing this interview, and it might be on the landing page where you can click get a demo, but either way, whether it's on our website or on the landing page, click that button and you'll see days and times available. Click it, schedule it, you put your name and email address in, and you're scheduled. That date and time, when you click on that GoToMeeting link, that will be your demo. So you don't have to call us to get a demo. You don't have to, just at your time, you could see our availability. So yeah, I really appreciate the time and the effort, and you putting the time in and the hours to interview me and get this information out in front of your group, your tribe.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again, Brian.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon. All right, bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna hit stop.